Entitled airline passenger tried helping themselves to my upgraded seat. I used to fly for work a lot. I have so many entitled people stories, it stopped surprising me to run into the behavior. This is one such story. For the cast, me, myself, and I, me. EP, entitled person. FA, flight attendant. Being someone that used to fly a lot, I constantly was upgraded to business class, first class, or simply just upgraded seats using miles. Since this was a connection for me, I arrived and boarded later than most of the plane. As soon as I walked into the plane, I saw someone was sitting in my seat since I had been upgraded. Now, if you fly enough, someone sitting in your seat is not an uncommon occurrence. Excuse me, I ask. I believe you are in my seat. The entitled person does not even bother to look up at me. He waves his hand dismissively and says, "Let's just switch seats so I can sit beside my wife." "Sure," I say. "What is your seat?" "Snickerdoodle." Now, I do not remember exactly what seat number he said, but it was the last row of the airplane, aisle seat, right by the bathroom. Yes, I have had to fly in those seats in the past. Remember, my assigned seat was in the first class or business class section. Now, I have switched seats with people innumerable times in my life without a second thought. Even first class seats. The look of someone getting to unexpectedly ride first class is priceless. But the way this guy was behaving and what he was expecting, this was not one of those times. "No," I say. "I am just going to sit in my assigned seat." Now he finally looked at me. "Well, I want to sit by my wife, so I am not moving." "Well, if you want to sit by your wife, I am sure whomever is sitting way back there would be more than happy to switch seats way up here, so you can sit back there with your wife." He didn't like that at all. For what could he really say at that point without sounding like a jerk? He just stared at me. I am annoyed, so I tell him to move. "I am not moving," he said. Ding ding! Darn right. I pushed the call button. The flight attendant comes and says, "Yes, sir. How may I help?" I hand her my ticket and say that he is sitting in my seat. She asks for his ticket, checks both tickets, sees his seat number, and in my mind at least, gave him a look of, "Seriously?" The flight attendant says, "Sir, you need to sit in your assigned seat." "I want to sit beside my wife," he insists. Well, I wasn't missing a beat and parroted my original statement about me being sure whomever was sitting back there beside him would be more than happy to switch seats and sit up here. Boy, oh boy, that obviously made him angry. The flight attendant looks at entitled person's wife and says, "Ma'am, would you like to switch seats so you can sit by your husband?" "No," the flight attendant says, in an all too familiar flight attendant voice that lets you know you have no choice. "Well, sir, you have to sit in your assigned seat, so please gather your things." What a sad and pathetic sight it was, seeing this grown man act like a baby, gather his things, and then sulk towards the back of the plane. Yes, his wife sat beside me that flight, and didn't join her husband in the back of the plane. No, we didn't talk to or look at each other even once, which was perfectly fine with me. Imagine dismissively expecting someone to give up their first class or business class seat to sit in the very last row of the airplane by the bathroom. TLDR, entitled person dismissively and rudely expects me to give up my first class or business class seat to sit in their seat in the very last row of the airplane right beside the bathroom door. I've heard of people doing this to try to score a free upgrade. One partner, or parent even, gets a first class ticket. The other gets a bottom of the barrel economy seat and begs for a swap to be with family. I feel like it unfortunately works on confrontation averse people. I was actually offered a seat in business once, since the gentleman wanted to sit next to his partner who was in economy. It was hilarious because they were right in front of me while boarding, and he says to his partner, they'd have to be crazy to give up this offer. I get to my seat. He turns around and offers me the seat. I said, thanks, I'd have to be crazy to give up the offer. He went red in the face, and then all three of us started laughing. Good times. That reminds me of a situation my boyfriend encountered on Southwest. He'd make sure to check in nice and early, to be in one of the first boarding groups. And he arrived early to be toward the front of that group. Just as boarding was wrapping up, a couple interrupted his reading. They wanted to sit together, and he was beside the only empty seat. They too had a very dismissive and entitled attitude. He said if they'd asked nicely, he might have considered it. As it was, both he and the person in the window seat refused. The couple got all agitated, and the woman actually wailed, "We cannot be apart!" A flight attendant then informed them that the plane was due to leave. They could take whatever seats were available or leave. They sulked their way into two seats that were only about 4 feet apart. Punchline: it was a 90-minute flight. I once witnessed something similar. An older couple gave their first class seats to their adult children. The children's seats were very near the back of the plane, but instead of sitting in those seats, they took the seats across the aisle from my husband and me, extra legroom seats. When the couple who actually paid for those seats asked them to move, they refused. There was a ridiculously lengthy debate with the flight attendant, and we were late taking off. Evidently, they felt that because their original seats were first class, they should get the best coach seats. The poor lady assigned to the seat kept apologizing to us. She was smushed into our space each time someone had to pass. But there was no need for her to apologize. It wasn't her fault that these entitled people are completely clueless. I don't think I've ever had a personal encounter with an entitled airline passenger. I don't think I'd know what to do since I hate confrontation too. However, it's a first class seat. I don't think I'd give it up that easily. Have any of you had encounters like the people in this video? Please share your encounters down below. And as always, thanks for listening. I'll see you soon. Bye!